First Imam's
Respected viewers of Imam Hussein TV, I would like to greet you all with the warmest of Islamic greetings, and that is Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As you know, over the past 2 nights we have been talking about the topic of worship and the necessity it is for humankind to worship a greater deity, and more specifically Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With us tonight, again, one brother, Sayyidina Sayed Hossein al Qazwini. Assalamu alaikum, dear Sayyid. How have you been, Sayyid?
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.
As you know, Sayed Hossein has graciously volunteered to come over here over the past few nights and talk to us about the subject of worship. And because it is such a crucial time to be worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is a month where so many blessings are. You know, they say that, you know, if you fast, like I believe once in this month, the numerous blessings that comes with it is beyond belief.
Absolutely.
And you know, we are headed to Ramadan as well, a month where worship is almost unescapable.
The month of worship.
It is the month of worship. As we say, Ramadan Kareem, it's almost like a mercy upon mankind. So with that said, tonight we are going to have a segue into worshiping, and more specifically we are going to be talking about dua. What is the philosophy of dua, and why is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us to make dua to Him? Before we begin, however, we would like to ask our dear Sayyid to send our peace and blessings upon Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his loyal brother Abul Fadl Abbas. So please, Sayyid.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى أخيه أبي الفضل العباس جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Peace be upon you, O Master of Martyrs. Peace be upon you, O the loyal brother of Hussein, Abul Fadl Abbas.
أحسنت.
Viewers, as you know, we are joined here by Sayed Hossein al Qazwini. Assalamu alaikum once again, dear Sayyidina. Now, Sayyidina, you know, tonight's topic is going to be on dua, and a lot of times we hear this word being thrown around, you know, make dua for me, or make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ask for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What exactly does the term dua stand for?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. Since it's the month of Sha'aban, like my dear brother Hadi mentioned, you just mentioned, and these 3 months, the months of Rajab, the month of Sha'aban and the month of Ramadan, they're really a spiritual crash course, 3 months of spiritual training. We have so many supplications and du'as to be recited in these months. For example, there were some beautiful du'as during the month of Rajab. There's beautiful munajat during the month of Sha'aban, and obviously in the month of Ramadan you have dua al-iftitah, dua Abu Hamza, and other supplications. It's good to know what the meaning of dua is in order to supplicate and ask. The root word of dua comes from da'a. Da'a means to call upon. Da'wa means invitation, to to call, to invite, or to call da'wah, invitation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says, وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمُ ادْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. And your Lord said, call on me, I shall answer you. Allah does not lie, astaghfirullah. Allah does not exaggerate. He says, call on me. Ask and I'll give. قَالَ رَبُّكُمُ ادْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. We have a hadith, very beautiful hadith, very short, yet full of meaning. The hadith says, الدعاء مخ العبادة. That dua is the essence of worship. We have so many forms of worship, but if we wanted to get to the core, if we wanted to get to the essence, then dua is the essence of worship. But why? How? Yesterday and the night before, we talked about worship and that there's different motives behind worship. There are some that worship out of interest in paradise. There are some that worship out of fear of hellfire. And there are those, like Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam says, وَلَكِنْ وَجَدْتُكَ أَهْلًا لِلْعِبَادَةِ فَعَبَدْتُكَ. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, I found you worthy of being worshipped, so I worshipped you. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator, and we are the creation. We are in need of Allah. We are in need of Him to bring us into existence and to keep us in existence. It's the creator-creation relationship that entails us to worship. Now, when a person supplicates, when a person performs dua, in essence, he's telling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I don't own anything, that I am useless. I by myself am useless. I can't hurt myself and I can't benefit myself if it's not for you. Only you can give me. I can't grant myself anything. When you raise your hand and you ask Allah, this entails confirmation that I need you. I will forever need you. As long as I'm alive, I need you for my existence. While khums, for example, hajj, these are all forms of worship, and they're beautiful forms of worship. Some of them are financial kinds of worship, like khums.
Yes.
Hajj is a social kind of worship. Salah is more of a spiritual kind of worship. Fasting is a disciplinary form of worship. But dua is a submissive form of worship. You're telling Allah that I need you. I can't go anywhere else. I can't go anywhere else. I can't knock on any other door, not of a president, not of a king, not of a member of parliament, not a doctor, not a lawyer. Only you can fix this for me.
And you know, it's very interesting that even someone who doesn't believe in God, when they're struck in those situations, as the Quran says, when they're hit with that calamity and they look around and they see there is no one else except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before them, you know, they can't help but ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Absolutely. That's why the famous saying says there is no atheist in a foxhole. Once a person is trapped in a foxhole, he's going to convert to any other religion. He's not going to remain an atheist. Absolutely. The concept of dua shows that we're in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why ad-dua mukh al-ibadah. It's the best form of worship because it shows how subservient, how much in need we are. We're in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
You know, just mentioning that foxhole thing, I remember I was once reading a Christian folktale. It was about a taxi driver and a priest. Now there was a taxi driver who was known to be a terrible driver. Like he went in there making sure that he instilled fear in the hearts of everybody. And this priest spent his entire life preaching. After the Yawm al-Qiyamah, you know, the Day of Judgment, these two are both sent to heaven. Imagine a taxi driver who instills fear in other people is sent to heaven with this priest. Whenever the gatekeeper comes, he says, oh, you're the taxi driver. We've been waiting for you. You know, we have a beautiful palace for you here in heaven. You have done such a great job. God loves you so much. Come with us. He takes him to a castle. It's beautiful. Then he comes to the priest, and the priest is like, wow, if a taxi driver got that, imagine me. I've been a priest all my life. You know, so the priest is waiting for him, and the gatekeeper looks at him and he says, oh, you, yeah. Okay, here, come. We've made a nice basement for you, and you can go here. And The priest says, what are you talking about? I spent my whole life preaching. He said, the gatekeeper says, yeah, you spent your whole life preaching, but you weren't effective. You didn't change many hearts. You just did it as if it was a job. But mashallah, this taxi driver, when he drove, he instilled God in everyone of his
He turned everyone into a believer.
He turned everyone into Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not someone who judges us based off results. He judges us based off intention. But it was a very interesting thing. That was the fox.
Beautiful, beautiful.
With that said, Sayyid, a lot of times some people come forth and they say, my dua is not getting answered. And you mentioned in the beginning, Allah says, I call on me and I will answer you. Why is it that sometimes, a dua might get rejected or it may not be answered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
First of all, some du'as get fully rejected. Khalas, it's not happening. They just put a stamp on it. It's just not happening. Sometimes the du'a gets delayed. It doesn't happen now, but it gets delayed. For example, Musa alayhi salam asked Allah to destroy Fir'aun.
Yes.
Allah answered, but only many years later. Many years later. It didn't happen at the same time. Some du'as get delayed, they don't get rejected, and there's a difference. As for the du'a that gets rejected, yes, some people get rejected. For example, we have a hadith that says, he who eats haram food, he who has haram food in his stomach and knows, then this person, Allah will not answer his dua.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the effect of haram food.
And that's if it's not by accident. The guy purposefully
Of course. If it's not by accident. There are some that think, well, if I did it on accident, or I go to certain restaurants, the restaurant is owned by a Muslim, but I'm not sure. If I eat and I think it's halal, but it turns out to be haram, my prayer is not going to be answered. No, I disagree. If Islamically you could eat from that restaurant and the signs say that it's halal and it turned out on the Day of Judgment to be haram, I don't think Allah will not reject your du'as because you tried your best. But those who eat haram food, not just haram food could mean pork and meat not slaughtered towards the Qibla and so on. Or it could mean that your salary, your income is not from a lawful source.
Yes.
You're going to be buying food and nutrition for yourself and your family members, and you're going to be eating. This is also haram food.
Yes.
Haram food doesn't necessarily mean pork. It could be food that's
blood money almost.
Blood money or it comes from unlawful means.
Yes.
Those who, for example, own liquor stores in the U.S., and there's a lot in our communities that own liquor stores. It's as if it's the only job that exists. They live in the land of opportunity, yet they resort to owning a liquor store. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not answer their prayers. Sinners, and of course we're all sinners, but those who don't seek forgiveness, they sin, they don't seek forgiveness, and then they expect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to answer their dua. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. You publicly disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You refuse to seek forgiveness, and then you want your dua to happen right there, right that second? Absolutely not. A hadith also tell us that those who pray with a distracted heart, that means they're not concentrating, they're not asking sincerely from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They say it comes from the tongue, but it's not coming from the heart. And we'll talk about that perhaps if we talk about the etiquette of dua.
Inshallah.
But if it's just coming out from the tongue and not from the heart, this dua will also be rejected. Then you have the other group that don't get rejected but get delayed. And this is very normal. In Dua al-Iftitah by Imam al-Mahdi ajjalallahu ta'ala farajah, there's a section he says, وَلَعَلَّ الَّذِي أَبْطَأَ عَنِّي هُوَ خَيْرٌ لِي بِعِلْمِكَ بِعَاقِبَةِ الْأُمُورِ. That perhaps my desires are delayed for a purpose. For a purpose. There's a benefit. You apply to a certain university. You didn't get accepted, but maybe you'll get accepted 5 years, 3 years down the road. Maybe it wasn't good for you to go then. You weren't ready. You were still young. You weren't ready to leave home. You kept on pushing to marry this person. It doesn't happen until 3 years down the line, maybe you weren't ready. Maybe this divorce, because you were young, it would have ended up in this marriage would have ended up in divorce, or so on and so forth. Thus, sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala delays our dua for a reason. Allah knows best, as we say. Allah doesn't give us certain things because it's better for us, but we're too quick to judge Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
It's interesting, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the all-knowing. A lot of times when people ask me about why is it Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't answer me, I say, well, it's like your child coming up to you and said, Mom, I want more chocolate. And you're the wiser person. You're not supposed to let a person who is not as wise as you, dictate what's going to happen. So I guess we can use that analogy as well, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's best for you. And sometimes you might be asking for something that's very harmful for you.
Ahsant. There's a verse that says sometimes man wants something, he thinks it's good for him, while Allah knows it's bad. And there are some things that happen to him, he thinks it's bad, while in reality they're good things. There's some tragedies that fall upon us, whether it's illness or poverty or sickness. We think it's bad, but in reality it's a good thing. Sometimes Allah is just testing our patience. Allah is testing our patience. Allah wants to see how long we could go having faith in Allah. There's some people that give up. They say, I've been begging Allah for, especially those, for example, that don't have children. They get married, they're planning on having a child after 2 years, 3 years. Not everything that you plan happens. After 2 years, there's no child. 5 years, 10 years. I know some couples that waited 16 or 17 years without a child. Some people lose faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some say that God doesn't even exist. If He existed, He would have answered me. This is proof that He doesn't exist. These people, they lose their faith and they lose their patience. Allah wants to test them.
Thank you very much. Now, you didn't mention, while you were talking, you were saying there is an etiquette to dua. Is there exactly, are there like specific rules that people should follow when making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make sure they're doing it at least in the right way? Is it as simple as saying, Allah, I want this?
Ahsant. There's definitely etiquettes to dua. If you go to a government agency, if you're filing a form to apply for your driver's license, when you go and you apply, there's a special form of etiquette. Protocol. You're not going to be rude and ask for the application and fill it out and tell them, you're not going to tell them, give me my driver's license right away. No, there's rules, there's etiquette. You have to be polite. If you ask kindly, your request will be answered. Even in school we're taught, you have to use the word please. May I do this? There's etiquette that we're taught when we ask adults and when we ask our parents. Now, dua is not asking a human being. It's asking the creator of all human beings. Some people think that they can ask however they'd like, even if he's lying in bed or in the shower, and he expects Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to answer him immediately. No. There's special etiquette. First of all, there's special things to say. Number one, you start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We have a hadith that say, before making a dua, praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Praise Allah for what He's given you, for what He's created, for who He is. This is 2. 3, we have a hadith that say, whenever making a dua, before and after, send your peace and blessings upon Khatam al-Anbiya Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And that a hadith that begins with the salawat upon the last messenger and ends with a salawat upon the last messenger, a dua that's sandwiched between two salawats will definitely be answered. These are hadith. These are all based upon a hadith. The Imam tells us how to pray and how to ask. 3 or 4, I don't know. Ask in a humble state. Ask in a humble state. Have you seen some kids when they speak to their parents, they have their hands on their hips, and that's not how you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't ask Allah arrogantly. The whole philosophy behind dua is to be submissive, is to show your humbleness, is to show that you're in need. Hadith say that sit in a humble manner. Raise your hands like a beggar, like the beggars that we see on the street, sitting at the door of the haram. The way they sit so humbly, so that anyone who would see them, his heart will break, and give them money or food. That's how we should perform dua. Raise your hands. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the sermon before Ramadan, the famous speech of Ramadan, it's called HOTBIRD Ramadan. He says, وَارْفَعُوا إِلَيْهِ أَيْدِيَكُمْ فِي أَوْقَاتِ صَلَوَاتِكُمْ, and raise your hands in dua when you're asking, like a beggar. Oh Allah, give me, I want it now, I'm in need. This is a humble way. Hadith say, beg Allah, beg, insist on what you want. Keep on begging Him like a humble beggar. Don't just say, oh Allah, if you can. No. Of course Allah can. What do you mean if you can? Allah definitely can. And keep on begging Him. The hadith say that Allah enjoys hearing His servant beg Him. Not that, of course, I don't mean that Allah is a dictator and He likes to see people being punished or tortured. But no, Allah enjoys to hear the whispers and the supplications and the dua of His servants.
It's just like you mentioned, like if a kid comes up to you, puts his hands around his waist, and he starts giving you orders, the parents would be like, sit down, be quiet, do you know who you're talking to? There's always a difference. That's just a parent and a child. Imagine the created and the creator. It's very interesting you emphasize how we have to beg. I remember when I was in madrasa as a child, I got a test once, and it's like, what is the manner we have to supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And amongst the answers, there was one of them said, put your hands out as if the blessings are falling in your hand. And there was another one, put it as if you're a beggar asking for money or sustenance. As a child, as an innocent child, I'm like, I'm getting blessings by putting my hand. So I circled it, and the teacher marked it off wrong. And ever since then, that question has stayed with me, that every time I put my hands up, I'm not looking up, I'm actually looking down. And many a times people don't realize that when they're looking up, it's not because Allah is in the skies, it's to show how low we are.
Definitely. Another hadith says that if you want your dua to be answered, pray for others first. Don't start with yourself. There's a hadith that emphasizes this.
Wow.
It's the selfish people that begin first. First, pray for your father, your mother, your wife, your brothers and sisters, your children, your neighbors. Keep yourself all the way at the end. The hadith says, he who prays for himself at the end, or maybe doesn't even pray for himself, whatever he's prayed for others, Allah will say, and grant him as well. If you ask for a long life for your parents, Allah will say, give him as well. Give recovery and health to so-and-so, Allah will say, give him as well. Money, give him as well. Without probably even asking for yourself. But it's always better to also ask for yourself. But even if, the hadith says, even if you don't ask for yourself, Allah will say, whatever you ask for others, give him as well.
Now Sayyidina, we are talking about the process of making dua. In essence, as human beings, as people who are dependent on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, without a doubt, what is it that we should be asking for? Is there something that we should be asking for in specific that, sometimes, I will be sitting and I'd be like, I'm happy with the situation in my life right now, but I still want to, I don't know, I want to show that I'm always in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want to say, like, this was all from you. What exactly should I be making dua for?
Ahsantum. Before I answer this, let me tell you this story. It'll make a lot of sense. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a servant. Of course, the servant wasn't paid, or he wasn't even owned by Rasulullah. Someone would volunteer to serve Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He would bring him his food. When Rasulullah, for example, would leave the masjid, he would bring his sandals, his shoes, and he would put it in front of Rasulullah. If Rasulullah, for example, wanted water, he'll bring him water. Things like this. One day, Rasulullah told him that, listen, you've been serving me for a while, and I haven't done anything for you. My dua is answered. The dua of a prophet is answered. Ask me for whatever you'd like, and I'll ask Allah, and you will be granted any wish. The man said, if this is the case, then you have to give me a night to sleep on it. Let me think about it, because it's one wish and I want to make use of it. Rasulullah told him, that's That's perfectly fine. He went. The next day he came back. Rasulullah told him, did you think of a wish? He said, yes. He said, last night I couldn't sleep. I kept on thinking. I kept on thinking of what to ask for. He said, I thought of if I ask for anything for this world, anything worldly, well, sooner or later I will die and I'll lose whatever you asked, whatever I asked for. I want to ask for something that will never stop, that will never go away. So I thought of the best thing to ask was, I'd like to be with you and in your position in Jannah.
Wow.
With you and in your position in Jannah. See, he hit two birds with one stone. Number one, with this dua, he guaranteed a seat in Jannah. This is one. And number two, in Rasulullah's position, Rasulullah asked Allah, he said, khalas, you will have this, but you have to help me with one thing. Prolong your sujood. Prolong your sujood. You'll get it, but you have to prolong your sujood. My point is, this person asked for something beautiful. They can never go away. It's eternal. He probably thought, if I ask for a wife, one day I'll die or the wife dies. If I ask for wealth, that wealth will either finish or I will finish, I will die. Let me ask for something that won't go away. I see some people, I get a lot of messages. I get a lot of emails. Sayyid, pray for this, pray for that, pray for my examinations, pray for my job, my promotion. That's fine. I have du'as like this for myself. But during these nights, the nights of Rajab, Sha'aban, Ramadan, what is it that we should actually be asking for? Let's learn from the Ahlulbayt. Let's learn from the Ahlulbayt. When we look at the supplications of the Ahlulbayt, not once have I found a supplication the Imam is asking for children, or the Imam is asking for power or wealth. For example, Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam, whom we're still celebrating his life.
Yeah.
In one dua he says, Ilahi habni kamal al-inqita'i alayk. Inqita'i ilayk. Oh Allah, let me disconnect from the entire world and connect only to you. This is his dua.
Wow.
He doesn't want any connection with the world except with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam in Dua Kumail, he says, اجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورة. Turn my nights and days in full remembrance of you. From the moment that I wake up till the moment I sleep, his dua is that you allow me to remember you all day and all night.
Wow.
Who would think of this? It's only the Ahlul Bayt who would think of this. Their du'as are always spiritual. Meaning is that it's only regarding their spirit, not their bodies. They never ask for anything materialistic. It's all regarding their bodies. I would say the best thing to ask for is to pray for our children, to pray for their guidance, to keep shaitan away from them. Isn't this a challenge for us today?
Yes.
Especially in the West. For those of us that are young and have children, we're raising our children in the West with all the new dangers.
And even the influence of the West to the East, I think.
Even here, exactly. Even here, those who are living in the East, it's no less of a danger with the internet, with social networking, and with the dangers of TV, and with bad friends. And we should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep shaitan away from our children. Is to keep our children religious. Ibrahim alayhi salam, Prophet Ibrahim prays for his children. In the Quran he says, Rabbi ja'alni muqim as-salat wa min dhurriyyati. Oh Allah, allow me to establish my salat and my children as well. Let my children pray. Give them the tawfiq for them to pray. This is a beautiful dua. Ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants your children a good education and a good wife, but at the same time, don't forget their spirits as well. Don't forget the spiritual aspect, not just the materialistic aspect.
No, I was actually reading a narration that said once we pass away, it's almost like there's an account where transactions, good deeds, bad deeds, etc., are occurring throughout our life. Once we pass away, this account is frozen. Like if you donate money, your will to charity, etc., doesn't make a difference because it matters when you're alive. Except what your children do, like all the good that you've taught them, when they continue to do the things that you've taught them, this account keeps on adding and adding in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
وَوَلَدٌ صَالِحٌ يَدْعُو لَهُ. This is one of the things that benefit in the hadith. a righteous son or daughter that continues praying, and this is one of the supplications to pray for. He who prays for his parents. In fact, you just reminded me of a hadith that says if a child was good to his parents in their lifetime,
yes,
but after their death he stopped praying for them. Because one of the things that we should ask for after our parents pass away is that we should ask for their forgiveness, so for Allah to forgive them. This person might have been a good son or daughter, but when they died he forgets to pray for them. This person will be recorded as a bad son and a bad daughter.
Wow.
While a person who never served his parents during their life, he neglected them, but after their death, if he prays for them, this person, he'll be written as a good son or daughter. Of course, this doesn't mean that we should neglect our parents and wait till they die no, but this is to encourage us to be good to them while they're alive, and once they pass away, to seek forgiveness for them and to pray for them.
That's a beautiful way of putting it. And thank you for adding on, because sometimes I might read something and it's not as specific as you may put
Absolutely.
it. So it's always an honor.
My pleasure.
To be corrected. With that said, Sayyidina, I was once surveying with my friends, and I was asking them, what is your ideal life? And other than children, what is it? Where do you want to see yourself? Some of them said, I want to finish my business degree, do this, start that, non-profit organization, go for ziyarah, do this. And all of my friends, I just wanted to see their train of thought. They did not mention anything about Imam Mahdi, Ajjallahu ta'ala faraja. And I think a lot of us Shias don't mention anything about Imam Mahdi. Like, it's not in our train of thought. We think like Akhir Zaman is so far away from now, and God knows it might be. Wouldn't it be essential for us to almost make a dua to say, at least let me see my Imam, let me run into him, let him, if he does come, let me be a part of his movement, etc.
Beautiful.
A lot of times we don't have that in our...
We neglect him. We forget our relationship with the living Imam. Some of us, we even forget that we have a living Imam that watches over us. He knows about our deeds, he knows about our actions.
Yes.
Our bad deeds hurt him, they injure him. Our good deeds make him happy. We forget him. And we have a hadith that say, well, if you can't see your Imam, develop a relationship, form a relationship with him by praying for him. Pray for his safety. Pray for his reappearance. Ask Allah to bring him
while I'm young,
so that we may be soldiers, so that we may be humble soldiers for him and to serve him,
and to be fearful of not being on the other side. Even if we call ourselves Shias,
Absolutely.
So many different aqidas today, so many different opinions. The youth on Facebook and Twitter, they're coming up with their own opinions, coming outside of Islam. I don't know where we're headed with this. And I look at them, I say, you're going to defy your Imam with these opinions too? Where did you pull this out from? Which authentic book? You're going against the Quran now.
And I wouldn't be shocked to hear that there are some youth that don't want the Imam to appear now. They don't want him to reappear now, because when the Imam reappears, our lives will change. He'll take us back to the original Islam. He'll implement the original Islam. That means those who don't practice very well, or they practice the way they like, this has to change. So for some, the reappearance of the Imam doesn't sound so good for them.
Interesting. With that said, Sayyidina, when we come to these shrines, we are in Sha'aban, so many people have come. Is it true that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers our du'as in specific times and places? And that being said, including the shrines as well. A lot of times say, why do Shias worship graves? Is it true that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prefers specific times and places where He will actually answer the dua as opposed to somewhere else?
Absolutely. There's specific times when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enjoys being asked, and those specific times a person will most likely be answered, and there's specific places. It's just like going to your boss. There's specific times when there's a good time to ask. Of course, I don't want to make a comparison between a human boss and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah never sleeps. Allah, his doors are always open. But hadith tell us that there's good times. For example, after Salat al-Jama'ah, when you've prayed in a congregation, when there's a lot of believers that are sitting together, praying together, this is a blessed time. Make use of this time. Make use of this time.
Wow.
Pray, ask Allah immediately after Salat al-Jama'ah, raise your hands and pray. Especially if people pray together. If they pray together. We have a hadith that say, if 40 believers say Ameen, Amen, to a dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will answer that dua. That's why after our lectures, during Ramadan, during Muharram, we do a dua. Why? Because we have a large congregation. We say, oh Allah, give a speedy recovery to the ill, so on and so forth. Why? Because if 40 believers say Ameen, that dua will be answered according to hadith. After salat, after a morning salat, when it rains, when it's pouring, go outside and say a dua, that dua, because rain is seen as a form of mercy. Take advantage of that mercy and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there's places, absolutely. At a mosque, better than at home. At a shrine, better than other places. These shrines of Ahlulbayt, salamullahi alayhim, they're a place, they're headquarters for angels. All of the shrines of Ahlulbayt. We can't see them, but if we were able to see them, we would see thousands of angels seeking forgiveness for those who visit the shrines of Ahlul Bayt and saying Ameen to those who ask. Specifically Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers the dua of a person who makes a supplication under his qubba. This is from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam.
Really?
That this is one of the gifts given to Imam. 3 gifts Allah gave to Imam Hussein. Number 1, the Imams will be from his progeny. Number 2, ash-shifa'u fi turbatih. There's a cure in his soil, the soil of his grave. And number 3, istijabat du'a tahta qubbatih. Allah will answer the prayer, the call of someone who prays under the dome of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And we've seen so many. We've seen so many people that come to the shrine of Imam Hussein with desires and they go out with fulfilled desires. And I believe that this is one of the main reasons why people are so attached to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, because of his intercession. And perhaps in the coming nights we can talk about this.
Inshallah.
Tawassul and the intercession of Ahlul Bayt. People have formed such a strong relationship with Ahlul Bayt because their shrines are places where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers dua. And this is from experience. It's not just theoretical. We've seen it practically.
And we can see this just, in Baghdad not too long ago for Imam Musa al-Kadhim's birthday, alayhi salam. They were blowing people up, they were attacking. There's a video out there of Wahhabis, terrorizing us. And you can see this doesn't deter the Shia one bit. And this is I truly believe this is a miracle that, no matter how many times they kill us, even from the time of Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam, when they were tearing off people's limbs just because they wanted to visit Abu Abdullah, the Shias have yet to neglect their Imams. And I believe that's also a miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Because our connection with the Ahlul Bayt is not just believing in Imamah. We've experienced their relationship with Allah. We've experienced intercession.
Yes.
We know that these men are special people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah will not say no to them when they ask.
Ahsant. Thank you very much, Sayyidina.
My pleasure.
That does conclude our time for tonight. And I wish we can spend more time on these topics, but however, we have a very limited time frame. And finally, we would like to thank our dear viewers for joining us today for this wonderful discussion on the philosophy of dua. Please join us again tomorrow night, where we will continue to talk about different types of worship during the times of Sha'baniyah. With that being said, we would like to conclude. Oh, by the way, please join us within the next 5 minutes, where we will be in the presence of Sayed Haider al Jezani once again for his beautiful recitations. And finally, before Sayyidina leaves, we would like to make this dua. Oh Allah, please hasten the reappearance of our beloved 12th Imam, Imam Mahdi Ajjallahu Ta'ala Faraja. اللهم أجل وليك الفرج وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين والسلام عليكم. As you know, we are here with Sayed Haider al Jezani. Once again, Assalamu alaikum, dear Sayyid. As you know, Sayed Haider al Jezani has been gracing us with his beautiful voice over the past few nights here in Sha'aban in honor of the heroes of Karbala. Now, Sayyidina, how are you feeling today? Now,
Alhamdulillah. Much
feeling better? Alhamdulillah. You know, when you're in the presence of the Imam, they give you shafa.
They give you straight away. Yeah, straight away.
Now, who have you prepared for tonight?
I've prepared something as we're coming towards the days of the birth of Ali al-Akbar. I asked Abu Shahbaz from Croydon to write this beautiful poem, and he sent it to me for Ali al-Akbar.
Now, as you know, Ali al-Akbar's birthday is actually 2 days away. He was one of the sons of Imam Hussein alayhi salam who gave his life for the sake of Imam Hussein's sacrifice, and he is a character that holds many virtues, and inshallah, you know, before his birthday we should also get to know him a bit better as well.
Of course.
But let's go ahead and see what you have for us.
His birth, a blessing to a man who was Akbar, understand. He was the son of Hussein. Ali al-Akbar was his name. To see him was ziyarah. He looked like his grandfather. No voice like his was the same. Ali al-Akbar was his name. His beauty outshone the moon. His voice like a humming tune. His praises I can't explain. Ali al-Akbar was his name.
Beautiful.
His one word, the whole azan. His one word, the whole Quran. No one has great in their name. Ali al-Akbar was his name. Ali al-Akbar was his name. By Zainab he was raised. By Allah he was praised. He is the son of Hussein. Ali al-Akbar was his name. Ali al-Akbar was his name. As valiant as a knight, Abbas taught him how to fight. Ali's blood runs in his veins. Ali al-Akbar was his name. Ali al-Akbar was his name.
That was beautifully. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. You know, we were just talking with Sayed Hossein al Qazwini about how all the Ma'asum used to make dua for having wonderful children. And we can honestly say Ali al-Akbar, subhanallah, he was an embodiment of a really well-taught son who was brought up under the tutelage of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. We have a narration that actually says that while Imam Hussein alayhi salam was heading to Kufa, where he was later stopped in Karbala, he stopped for a second and he began to worry, and he looked at his son and he said, you know, death awaits us. How do you feel? And Ali al-Akbar looks at him and says, what is there to hesitate when we know that we are on the right path? So subhanallah.
There's another narration, subhanallah, when Ali al-Akbar was born, a man came to congratulate Abi Abdullah al-Hussein, and this man came to him. He said, Abi Abdullah al-Hussein, I saw your grandfather Rasulullah in my dreams.
Yes.
And the man was upset. He was so happy that Rasulullah came to his dreams, and he goes, do you want to see someone who's the most person who has their looks from Rasulullah?
Yes.
He said, who? He lifted the blanket of Ali al-Akbar, and the man lost consciousness. He said, Ya Rasul, Ya Aba Abdullah, this looks exactly like the person I saw in my dream. So Ali al-Akbar has the looks. Ashbahun nas bi Rasulullah. So he looks the most like Rasulullah Ali al-Akbar.
Yes, and amongst the other virtues and characteristics that he was known for is his generosity. Apparently, when he used to walk with his mother Layla in the streets, he used to tell his mother, "Can we light the chimney on fire so people can see smoke coming from our house?" His mother asked him why. He said, "Because I want the beggars to know that to even think that there's something cooking in our home, so that they can come knock on it and we can give them food." And subhanAllah, when we look outside in Sha'ban, we see that a lot of people have adopted this. The mokib, they're giving so much.
Exactly.
So ahsant, dear viewers, with that being said, that does conclude tonight's recitation with dear Sayyid Haider al Jezani. Please join us again over the next few nights, where we will continue to talk about this blessed month and honor the heroes of Karbala with Sayyid Haider al Jezani's beautiful voice. With that being said, we would like to conclude and make a short dua for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of our beloved 12th Imam, Imam Mahdi ajralahu ta'ala faraja. Allahumma ajil waliyak al-faraj. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi al-tahirin. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.